we cannot experience Shiva without Parvati. If Shiva is the unchanging consciousness, the inert principle beneath all existence, then Parvati is the energy that brings this consciousness into experience. Every insight, every creative act, and every instance of love is Parvati revealing Shiva to himself. Shiva without his Shakti, that is Parvati, is Shava, a corpse. And Parvati without Shiva is just chaotic energy without awareness. Creation, including our human form, is not a conflict but a joyful expression of their union. In the Puranas, Parvati's journey is a metaphor for the seeker's path. She is not born enlightened, but it's clear that she has the potential. In Kumarasambhava, Kalidasa describes how Parvati's birth brought supreme joy to the collective consciousness. And as she grew, Parvati blossomed like the moon which grows fuller each night, showing more of its hidden beauty. It's like how we uncover our hidden strengths little by little as we grow. She is the daughter of the king of mountains, Himavat in the Himalayas, and her various names like Girija, Shailaja and Hemavati reflect that. The majestic Himalayas are a reflection of Parvati's nature. The Himalayan glaciers that feed rivers like Ganga and Yamuna carry Parvati's nurturing energy, flowing through the land and giving life wherever it goes. The beauty and peace you feel when you look at the Himalayas are Parvati's grace. The mountains stay grounded, while their peaks reach high into the sky. That's exactly like Parvati's determination. She did intense meditation for thousands of years just to unite with Shiva. The Himalayas also protect the land from harsh winds and storms, just like Parvati protects the world by standing up for her creation. The Himalayas are a sacred home for seekers and sages, just like how Parvati offers refuge to anyone looking for the divine. Even the hidden treasures of the Himalayan mountains, the rich soil and the healing herbs are gifts from her. In Kumarasambhava, Kalidasa uses a lot of similes from nature and from celestial bodies to describe Parvati's beauty. Her beauty is symbolic of Shakti's ability to attract and unify that draws Shiva into the creative act. In spiritual traditions, beauty often serves as a tool to engage the senses, drawing the mind towards higher, transcendent ideals. For example, Krishna's beauty is celebrated not to glorify physical form, but to awaken feelings of devotion and surrender. In Indian aesthetics, beauty is closely tied to the concept of Rasa, the emotional and spiritual essence evoked by art, nature, and human expression. Anything truly beautiful has the ability to remind us of the ultimate reality, Brahman. It is important to note that Parvati's beauty raises our vibrations. It doesn't make us feel insecure or wanting to grasp. Modern ideas about beauty tie it to consumerism and physical perfection, which lead to vanity. But in spiritual traditions, beauty is used as a tool to reflect the inner sattvic qualities and remind us of the infinite creative potential of our existence. You probably know about Parvati as a happy, devoted wife and mother, but she is so much more. In her youthful devotion and pursuit of Shiva, she represents the Maiden archetype, which resonates with anyone searching for purpose and love. Through her intense tapasya, she represents the sage archetype, as she shows the qualities of a siddha, someone who has mastered the mind and senses. As the nurturing mother of Kumara, Kartikeya and Ganesha, Parvati mirrors the ideals of care, protection and selflessness. Her love isn't just for her children, it extends to all beings, embodying the universal energy of Jagat Janani, the mother of the universe. When cosmic balance is threatened, Parvati embodies the warrior archetype. She doesn't step back but transforms into fierce protective forms like Kali and Durga. She complements Shiva's role as the destroyer, showing that divine love also means standing up and fighting for what's right. Parvati is a reincarnation of Sati, the woman who loved fearlessly and defied all conventions by marrying Shiva, this unkempt ascetic who disregarded rituals. Her father disapproved of this, and when he did that in a grand fashion during a yajna that he organized, Sati protested in a grand fashion too, by giving up the life that her father created. Now without Sati, that is Shiva's Shakti, Shiva becomes totally inert and he retreats into deep meditation. Their separation leaves the cosmos unbalanced. But Sati is Shakti, which has a cyclic nature. So before going, she tells Shiva that I will be back and I will reunite with you in another form. That is how we get Parvati, who is born in the Himalayas, a place more conducive to unite with Shiva. Parvati, from a young age, felt an unexplainable connection to Lord Shiva. And when Narada, the celestial sage, visited their place, he looked at the young Parvati and said that she is destined to unite with Lord Shiva, and their union will restore the cosmic balance. Now this held a great significance for all the gods, because gods were eagerly waiting for this union to happen. Now why were the gods waiting for Shiva to marry Parvati? Let's understand that. In the Devaloka, where all the gods resided, an asura named Taraka became very powerful and he created havoc because he embodied unchecked desire, ignorance and disorder. In Kumarasambhava, Kalidasa paints a haunting picture of Taraka's rule. The radiance of the gods' faces had faded. The Adityas, the solar deities, dimmed, and even the cosmos itself felt heavy. The ocean, which is vast and usually unbothered, was so unsettled that it tried to offer its jewels to Taraka, hoping to pacify him. So nature was completely out of balance. Even Indra, the king of gods, who was supposed to be all-powerful and dignified ruler, was reduced to flattering Taraka just to avoid conflict. Can you imagine that? But Taraka wasn't satisfied by all of this. His cruelty was bottomless. The women of the celestial realms were reduced to his unwilling attendants, who were forced to serve him while their tears fell silently. This imagery is symbolic of what happens when power is wielded without attaining wisdom first. In today's world, Taraka's archetype is well alive if you look around, in the form of a manipulative boss, a controlling parent, or an overbearing partner who use fear, guilt, and shame to get their way. Look at the corporations who destroy ecosystems just for their own profit without thinking about the communities that depend on that ecosystem or even the future generations. Coming back to Parvati and Shiva, so why only their union could save the Devaloka? Let's understand that. Shiva represents pure awareness, witness consciousness that remains detached and transcendent. Parvati represents effort, transformation, and devotion, the dynamic force of willpower, self-discipline, and perseverance. Their union symbolizes the merging of potential with action, wisdom with effort, transcendence with engagement. Only when these two principles merge, a true transformative force, that is Kartikeya, can be born. In our own lives, we must balance these two forces, that is Shiva, awareness, and Parvati, effort and action, to overcome internal and external obstacles. Because without awareness, action is blind, and without action, awareness remains passive. Taraka became so powerful because he received a boon from Brahma that nobody could defeat him except the offspring of Shiva. Taraka's intense tapasya pleases Brahma, Because in the cosmic order, effort and discipline yield results, whether the one practicing it is virtuous or not. Now Parvati had admired Shiva for as long as she could remember. So she approaches Shiva to pay her reverence, offering flowers and her humble service. Shiva and Parvati's first encounter turns tumultuous very quickly because the gods decided to intervene to make sure that Shiva falls in love with Parvati. So they send the god of love, Kamadeva, over there. Kamdev's arrows could awaken desire even in the most steadfast of minds. As Kamdev stepped into the forest with his wife Rati, his presence transformed the atmosphere. The air grew fragrant, filled with the scent of blooming flowers. Birds began to sing sweet melodies, and the trees burst into blossom, their leaves shimmering as if kissed by the breeze. Rivers rippled playfully, and animals that were once indifferent began pairing off in harmony. The sun's golden rays filtered through the dense canopy, bathing the forest in an almost dreamlike glow. It was as if the entire forest had become an extension of Kamadev's influence, a realm of desire and longing. Kamadeva is confident of his ability to pierce even Shiva's meditation, so he shoots an arrow at him. And at that exact moment, Shiva opens his eyes and looks at Parvati. But soon he feels an unusual disturbance in his concentration. Shiva looks around and finds Kamadeva and realizes that Kamadeva had dared to assault Shiva's meditation. Now this makes him so angry that he sends a merciless blaze from his third eye to reduce Kamadeva to ashes in an instant. The whole forest fell silent. This pivotal moment marks the intensity of Shiva's detachment as well as the depth of Parvati's devotion. Parvati is heartbroken and she returns home where her father, Himavat, takes her into his arms and offers comfort as she grieves the seeming impossibility of uniting with Shiva. So far was her maiden archetype, but now we will see her sage, seeker and meditator archetype. Realizing that her rich and beautiful physical form and devotion cannot alone lead to union with Shiva, Parvati made a life-altering decision. She resolved to dedicate herself to tapasya. Leaving behind her royal comforts, she ascended to a remote mountain top known as Gauri Shikhara, a place surrounded by untouched nature. It is fascinating how mountains and jungles served as sanctuaries for meditation in ancient India. While they were dangerous, the perception of danger and how people adapted around it was very different from how we think about it today. Jungles and mountains were not just wilderness, but spaces of spiritual energy called tapovans or aranyakas. These areas were considered ideal for contemplation, self-discovery and transcendence. It was believed that individuals engaged in intense meditation and tapasya generated a field of spiritual energy that deterred harm. Parvati's solitude is a necessary condition, symbolizing independence and readiness required to transcend temporary conditioning. During her tapasya, Parvati embraced a very simple life. Parvati engages in Sharira Shuddhi, purification of the body, Chitta Shuddhi, purification of the mind, and Karma Shuddhi, purification of the actions. Each day, she recited sacred mantras, meditated for hours, and practiced fasting and silence or mauna. Through this disciplined practice, she starts to quieten her mind and align her energy with the rhythms of the cosmos. Parvati's austerities went far beyond the practices of even hardened ascetics who prided themselves on physical endurance. But it wasn't just a trial of her body. For her, it was about complete surrender. She went to such extremes that she gave up all food, including leaves, and sustained herself purely through her tapas, her inner spiritual fire. Witnessing this, the local ascetics named her Aparna, meaning the one who does not even take a leaf for sustenance. These practices prepared her body to be a stable vessel for meditation on Shiva. She awakens her inner Shakti, and in this moment, she transforms from being someone who is waiting for Shiva to someone who is the embodiment of Shakti, the energy that resonates with Shiva's consciousness, drawing him naturally towards her. But Shiva wants to test her resolve, so he visits her as a wandering holy man. The holy man questions Parvati. Why are you doing this? Why would you want to marry someone like Shiva? High-ranking people will laugh at you for this choice. Shiva has no lineage, no family of repute, and lacks any virtues suitable for a husband. Change your mind before it's too late. Parvati's face turns red with anger. She says, "You know nothing about Shiva. The ways of great beings have reasons that go beyond the understanding of ordinary minds like you. And even if everything you said about him were true, my heart is full of love for him, and I will not waver." For Parvati, life with Shiva represented the highest form of existence. She declared, "I will not stay here to listen to your ignorance," and began to walk away. At that moment, the holy man transformed into Shiva, revealing his true form. He swept Parvati into his arms and said that from now on, I am your slave. Their divine love is beautifully captured through art. Shiva here is completely absorbed in his love for Parvati, to the point where he becomes oblivious to the world around him. Their love is rooted in spiritual understanding. One of the most fascinating things about Shiva and Parvati is how their combined depictions inspire balance in our own lives. Look at the Shivalinga. It's probably the most recognizable symbol in Hinduism. The linga represents Shiva consciousness, pure, formless, and infinite. But here's the thing, consciousness on its own doesn't do much unless it's paired with energy. That's where Parvati comes in, symbolized by the yoni, the womb-shaped base that holds the linga. And then there's Ardhanarishvara. According to Puranas, Parvati asks Shiva to always remain with her, and in response, they merge into a single form as Ardhanarishvara. Half the figure is Shiva and the other half is Parvati. It's literally one body split down the middle, masculine on one side and feminine on the other. The Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad describes the primordial being as a whole that splits into male and female to initiate creation. Ardhanarishvara is the ultimate symbol of this interdependence. This union started a fresh chapter in Parvati's life, looking at it from Parvati's mother's lens, and I'm sure all the mothers can relate to this. The pride in seeing your child grow, but the tender sorrow of letting them go. In this beautiful poem by Kamalakanta Bhattacharya, we hear the voice of Mena, Parvati's mother, who expresses the bittersweet pain of watching her daughter evolve. "What a dream I had last night. Mountain King, how long will you sleep, unconscious? A minute ago, she was standing at my head. But now, where has my Gauri gone?" With her moon face, she called me Ma, babbling like a child. Rising up in my mind, she dispelled my darkness, showering the nectar of immortality in her sweet, sweet words. While unconscious, I received this treasure and lost it when I awoke. I cannot bear it. And listen to this. It's incredible. On all sides, The jackals howled. In the midst, my Uma, alone, on the cremation ground. Tell me, what more can I do? Who will bring me news? I don't know what my Gauri is doing. This is Kamalakanta's message. Virtuous queen of the mountains, you saw Gauri effortlessly, dreaming in bed. But Shankara had to renounce all for the sake of her lotus feet. So he keeps them in his heart with the greatest of care. Uma and Gauri are Parvati's different names. Moon face symbolizes Parvati's transcendence, her purity and serenity, while babbling like a child brings her divinity down to earth. The fleeting nature of spiritual insights is captured in the line, while unconscious, I received this treasure and lost it when I awoke. Jackals are associated with death and decay. Parvati, as Shakti, willingly steps into the cremation ground to undergo a transformation that will unite her with Shiva. When Kamalakanta says to Meena, you saw Gauri effortlessly in a dream, but Shankara had to renounce all. It reflects that love can be experienced in different ways. The worldly love may seem more effortless. However, the divine love that lasts permanently requires personal sacrifice of the identities and labels that we associate with. Shiva and Parvati got married in a ceremony attended by all gods. Skanda, Kartikeya or Kumara was the firstborn after their marriage. But we have to understand that Parvati's mother archetype goes beyond biology. Many texts, including the Devi Bhagavata Purana, refer to Parvati as Jagat Janani, the mother of the universe. The Lalita Sahasranama calls her Karuna Amrita Sagaraha, an ocean of compassion. In the Markandeya Purana, Parvati is identified as a form of Adi Shakti, the primordial energy that breathes life into the cosmos itself. Having a mother goddess like Parvati touches something very deep within us, something primordial. Across cultures, the mother archetype is not just a religious symbol, but it's a source of comfort, strength, and belonging. But why? Imagine someone who loves you completely, not for your achievements, not for how you look or how perfect you are, but simply because you are. That's the kind of love a mother goddess represents. Deep down, we all crave for a space where we can just be. We can put down our masks, the defenses, and the constant striving, and rest in the knowledge that we don't have to earn love. It's already ours. Life can be overwhelming. And in those moments, the idea that there is a mother goddess saying to us that you are safe, I've got you, it's powerful. The mother goddess is fertile, not just in the body, but in the mind. Think about it. How many times have you thought that this is just too much? I can't come back from this. Only to find that somehow you did. That's her energy at work, which is cyclic in nature. It says that nothing is permanent, not even your pain. Mother goddess represents home, the ultimate refuge. After Kartikeya's birth, Parvati's love and care were instrumental in shaping him into the fearless warrior he was meant to be, to defeat the Asura Taraka. Despite her deep love for Kartikeya, Parvati allowed him to grow independently and fulfill his destiny. She did not fight his battles herself. This detachment is challenging, but it's an important part of being a mother. Parvati's fertility reminds us that the universe itself is a creative act. From the Big Bang to the blossoming of a single flower, or healing a wound, from the formation of galaxies to the rise of civilizations, everything is born from this fertile impulse. This is the same fertile and creative impulse from which Parvati created Ganesha, not biologically, but from her own essence, when Shiva was busy meditating on Kailasa. She didn't need Shiva to create Ganesha. In fact, when Shiva encounters Ganesha and Ganesha blocks his path because he's trying to protect Parvati, Shiva battles Ganesha and beheads him. Parvati, enraged at the loss of her child, transforms into her fierce form and threatens to destroy the cosmos. Seeing her wrath, Shiva realizes his injustice and revives Ganesha by placing an elephant's head on his body. Would you say that Parvati's anger was misplaced? No, right? So when you look at an angry person, remember that she or he also embodies the goddess Shakti, who may be trying to bring justice, social or environmental, and order in the universe. Our fertility seems blocked when we face some kind of disconnection. It could be a disconnection with our supportive communities, with nature, or with our inner selves. When Parvati sought Shiva, her love and devotion were not immediately reciprocated. But she didn't go into despair. This teaches us that when we feel stuck, the answer may not lie outside of us, but we need to go in and reconnect with our Shakti to manifest our outer reality. We also meet Parvati in her Annapurna form. The name Annapurna comes from the Sanskrit words Anna, which means food, and Purna, which means complete. Together it translates to the giver of everlasting food. It reflects a culture where food is seen not just as sustenance, but as a sacred offering. And when we see food as sacred, it transforms eating into an act of gratitude and mindfulness. Each meal connects us to the earth, the people who grow our food, and the cycles of nature. To love and nurture unconditionally, the mother of all creation also needs to fight. When Parvati becomes Durga to defeat Mahishasura, it is her nurturing spirit that drives her to protect what she loves. And then there's Kali, her fiercest form, who teaches us that to truly protect and heal, we must face the root of the problem. When she confronts Raktabija, who multiplies every time his blood hits the ground, Kali doesn't just attack blindly. She absorbs all his blood, ending the cycle of destruction. This reflects a deeper wisdom that loving isn't just about soothing the wounds, but it is about going deep and doing the work, solving the core issues, no matter how uncomfortable or dark they may seem. Parvati reminds us that the feminine form is multidimensional. Once Shiva and Parvati were having an argument, and Shiva tried to leave. Parvati refused to let him go and manifested 10 fierce forms to block his path in all directions. The Mahavidyas are the 10 wisdom goddesses: Kali, Tara, Tripura Sundari, Bhuvaneshwari, Bhairavi, Chinnamasta, Dhumavati, Baglamukhi, Matamgi, and Kamala. Together, they represent the full spectrum of divine feminine power and wisdom. In many accounts, it's Parvati's curiosity and her penetrating questions that lead Shiva into revealing his secret teachings. Shiva is Adi Yogi, the first yogi, and Parvati is his first disciple. Vijnana Bhairava Tantra begins with Parvati asking profound questions to Shiva about the nature of existence, liberation, and the divine, to which Shiva responds by revealing 112 meditation techniques. In Kashmiri Shaivism, Abhinavagupta uses metaphors of erotic union and cosmic dance to illustrate the relationship between Shiva and Parvati, showing that the divine is not just transcendent, but also immanent in the experiences of love, beauty, and creativity. While Advaita Vedanta primarily focuses on non-dual consciousness, Brahman, Parvati as Shakti represents the manifest aspect of the unmanifest reality. In regional traditions, Parvati takes on local forms, reflecting the social and cultural landscapes of specific communities. In this Bengali poem from Uma Sangeeta, Shiva is portrayed less as the revered cosmic ascetic and more as an irresponsible husband, embodying a mother-in-law's nightmare. He drags Uma, that is Parvati, into poverty because he neglects household responsibilities, while he is always found in cremation grounds doing his yoga practices. This depiction speaks to the local societal struggles and anxieties surrounding domestic life and gender roles. Parvati transforms into Kali, driven by frustration and emotional turmoil, highlighting the feminine reaction to neglect and societal expectations. Her new fierce identity, adorned with strange ornaments and accused of being drunk, challenges the traditional ideals of the feminine and wifely virtues. When we look at Parvati, there are so many symbols that stand out. I have picked 3 of them to discuss here. The first one is the lion. You will always find a lion near her. What would you say about someone who has tamed a lion? A lion represents untamed force, raw power, and fierce courage. It's our wild part that needs to be accepted, integrated, and guided. Parvati asks us to face our inner lion in the process of individuation, that is becoming our whole authentic self. We can see Parvati's third eye, which symbolizes her state of enlightenment. Parvati is wearing so much jewelry. It reflects the abundant nature of divine feminine, which naturally attracts prosperity when it realizes its own Shakti. It's a celebration of sacred in material form. I acknowledge that it's not straightforward to understand Parvati. We glorify her qualities of patience, devotion, nurturing, but when overdone, these qualities can easily tip into the shadow side. Think about all the spiritual followers who get entangled with unethical spiritual teachers and toxic communities. They think that their submission is their spiritual growth. Instead of getting enlightened, they get exploited. Parvati starts with devotion, but eventually realizes her fierce forms of Durga and Kali, who tolerate no nonsense. Parvati is a caring and nurturing mother, but this side also has its boundaries. She is not smothering her children or stopping them from facing their own challenges. She gives Kartikeya the spear to fight Asura Taraka. So when you feel like helping someone, ask yourself, are you doing it to really help them, or you're just doing it to ease your own fears? Don't let your insecurity disguise itself as your goodness. So what is Goddess Parvati actually asking us? She's asking us to show up for life and evolve through it, to find our authentic rhythm and dance fully. Because when we do that, Shiva doesn't need to be found. He shows up naturally in the stillness between each step. And this dance of stillness and motion becomes the expression of our divine essence. Thank you for joining me in this exploration. Please support my work by subscribing to this channel, and if you like this video, please give it a like and share it with your friends and family members.